Hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Analyzing Evil, featuring Fluixon from Ish's Rich and Poor 1000 Player Experiment. Fluixon is like many other characters in those series of videos, originally starting off with good ideals, but eventually corrupts themselves into becoming the very thing that they wish to destroy. In Fluixon's case, his journey started and ended with an addiction with Island 1, which we shall cover in this video. A special thanks to the Vile Eye for being the main inspiration for this video, and Ish for allowing me to use this video for the background footage. Without further ado, let's begin. Born and raised on Island 2, Fluixon was born to a wealthy family back when his village was its own independent nation of Aurora. But eventually, when it reached adulthood, that nation would join together with the factions of Horizon Bridge Company and Shima to form the nation of Luminara. Fluixon was well kept, well fed, and this was due to the rich, prospering nature of Island 2. This allowed Fluixon to quickly establish a name for himself in his home country of Luminara, rising up through the ranks quickly to reach the second in command of his nation under his president, 3 As Fluixon performed this shift in the mind, he would meet several individuals here who would go on to play a critical part in the conspiracy surrounding Island 2. Snowbird, 338, would become one of the few friends that Fluixon would make in his travels alongside Thomas 5200 and Gogata, and one other key individual named Saps. There was many reasons that would drive an individual to perform unholy acts in the name of national security, but Fluixon's drive was a lie, drawn out by propaganda made by the inhabitants of Island 1. Added on to the fact that none of the other island leaders took him seriously at the Tricolor Summit in regards to the threat of Island 1 invading Island 2. Ultimately, Island 2's leaders voted to send aid to Island 1 and engage in trade, and this decision changed Fluixon's attitude. Together with Thomas 5200 and Gotata, they would devise a plan that would drive Island 2 into absolute chaos and hopefully allow them to seize power without showing any evidence. This plan began with the manipulation of Seraphim to help with the assassination of the Island 2 leaders by devising a trap to catch them all together at once, but Seraphim jumped the gun, murdering Queen Josephel ahead of schedule. This forced the conspiracy and Fluixon to improvise. However, Fluixon knew that an emergency meeting would be held, and thanks to his recommendation at the Tricolor Summit, it was Saps' isolated vacation home that was chosen due to its neutral status. A deadly trap was set up, and one of Fluixon's lower-ranked conspirators sacrificed themselves to activate the trap. However, it was faulty and didn't kill everyone, especially Luminara's president, 3 and the leader of the Chaos Coalition. This trap set into motion the almost complete breakdown of Island 2, resulting in a complete lockdown, but Fluixon, unbothered by the act he did in the name of national security, didn't know that all of that murder would be based on a lie that he wouldn't find out until much later. With the betrayal of one of his closest friends put into the back of his mind, Fluixon, alongside his conspirators, would lie in hiding for several days, thinking that he had won. Fluixon's confidence had skyrocketed, and he started to turn his attention to acquiring more power before the islands were able to interact with each other. His first order of business for the conspiracy, to secure Fluixon's safe secret rule over Island 2, was to ensure the trial of Saps would result in a guilty verdict. He sent Thomas 5200 to bribe the leading judge for a guilty verdict, and Thomas would play the prosecutor. It was a perfect plan that played out exactly as Fluixon wanted. His closest friend, about to take the fall for something Fluixon did, was at hand. Only one problem arose. Saps was able to escape from the trial alive. This ended up becoming a bigger problem than Fluixon realized. After Saps' escape, Fluixon and the conspiracy devised a contingency plan that should they be discovered on the day before the borders dropped, a Luminaran mountain mine was turned into a deadly trap, which would be used in case of emergency, and its dangerous effects would be shown later. With the plan set, the focus can be set on Island 1, and unlike what Fluixon was expecting, when the day the borders dropped, there wasn't any large-scale murder or war, there was just introductions and conversations. This caught the conspiracy off guard, because they were expecting Island 1 to invade and pillage Island 2. One of the conspirators, Thomas 5200, had made contact with the Covenant, a dangerous nation known for its high-level combatants, and with Fluixon, they had made an exchange of diamonds for special colored trimmed armor that became a staple with the conspiracy's looks. There was still an issue that Fluixon needed to get sorted out, and that was the removal of 3-Below-Zero from the leadership of Luminara. He learned of a secret meeting that took place between the diplomats of Island 2 in relation to discussing the events that happened on the island. Fluixon had Gotoga infiltrate 3-Below-Zero's personal guard, with his assassin, New Kid's, nearby. When the time was right, New Kid pounced and assassinated 3-Below-Zero, with Gotoga using the excuse of lag to hide his association with the plot to murder the leader of Luminara. With the death of 3-Below-Zero, Fluixon assumed control over Luminara with little resistance, putting the individual into a position of higher power on Island 2. Unfortunately, despite how intelligent Fluixon was, and the fact that this was the peak of his power, he would soon realize it was the beginning of the end for Fluixon and the conspiracy. Fluixon would not long after having attended a Blue Cross meeting, took notice of Saps' presence. This, understandably, made Fluixon very upset mentally, but before he could take action against Saps, on his way back to Luminara, the new king of Tricolor, Gabori, confronted Fluixon and quietly attempted to arrest the Luminaran leader. The reason was to ensure that Fluixon stood trial in Tricolor for international criminal activity. Fluixon, knowing he was outnumbered, cooperated, but had a surprising backup plan. New Kids, one of his associates, was positioned nearby. He began to attack Fluixon, which worked, and distracted the Tricolor forces, making them think that it was a similar assassination attempt to 3-Below-Zero. This permitted Fluixon to escape and return to his nation borders. This arrest attempt drove the paranoia in Fluixon to max levels. He never went on his own. He was always surrounded by guards, and slowly became more of a dictator because of this. Isolated himself from his friends and citizens, for the risk of them being spies for other nations. This would become true when the Caste Coalition forces, made up of 50 soldiers, entered Luminara's borders to make a public arrest of Fluixon. But there was confusion, as people wanted Fluixon to stand trial, while others wanted him dead on the spot, right then and there. In the middle of this conflict between the mixed reactions, Fluixon saw an opportunity and began to flee. He was pursued by the large force, remembering his contingency plan. He led them straight to the Luminaran mineshaft, which was activated, resulting in the death of several Coalition soldiers and Fluixon's escape. Because of this, the news had spread like wildfire that Saps was innocent, and Fluixon, now at a low point, had been found guilty for the assassination of the Island 2 leaders. But Fluixon was still calculating and intelligent. He still had connections and utilized them to make his escape through the Commonwealth to Island 1. But this escape came at the cost of 2 of his assassins, Hard Rotation and New Kids. On the 10th day, it had now become clear that Fluixon, in an attempt to prevent the war from reaching Island 2, knew that the smartest thing to do was to have the largest battle of the realm happen on Island 1, so he would ensure that Island 1 takes the brunt of the chaos and damage. To do this, he sought refuge in Infernus under Queen Seneca. This drew the island into a large-scale conflict. Even then, as the two sides geared up for war, Fluixon, yet again, used his calculated mind to devise an escape plan for himself should Infernus lose the battle. This would be proven true, as Queen Seneca would find herself slain. Fluixon, sensing that the battle was lost, ate several golden apples and jumped into the lava, surviving yet again. With the help from Thomas 5200, he fled from the battle. Surviving, and with his ego at an all-time high from all the times he survived, Fluixon was messaged and challenged by Saps to a 1v1 at the Colosseum, in the heart of Island 1's culture. He could have said no. He would have survived had he not agreed, but Fluixon accepted and arrived at the Colosseum 10 minutes later, accompanied by Thomas 5200. Saps commented on the fact that Fluixon showed up, with Fluixon replying,
"Can't say no to a friend, can I?"
as a reminder to Saps of the betrayal and chaos that Fluixon had put him through, almost resulting in Saps' death several times over. Thomas observed the battle as it started, as a group of conquistadors observed for Saps. Fluixon, fueled by his ego and skill, was evenly matched with his friend and rival, until Fluixon, in his combat, took a wrong step, allowing Saps to catch him in a lava bucket, turn into favor against Fluixon. The battle lasted another 3 minutes, before suddenly, in the final clash, Fluixon was slain, dead on the island that he had spent so long trying to defend his nation from. This brought an end to the war, and as such, in his effort to stop Island 1, Fluixon died in the heart of it to his former friend. With Fluixon's defeat, the last remaining survivor of the conspiracy, Thomas 5200, fled, but this wouldn't last long, and days later, he was captured and executed by Dripstone under the watchful eye of African Turkey and the conquistadors, marking an end for the once powerful, secretive conspiracy, bringing true peace to the island and an end to this story. Fluixon, whether driven by motive or by fear, is a prime example of someone who fully gave in to the belief of propaganda without taking into consideration that it might be a bluff. Out of all the characters in Ish's videos, I think Fluixon was the most interesting, because of the fact that he wasn't a giant nation leader like Ulanullo. He was a leader of a small group of people, a conspiracy, that took charge trying to do what he thought was best for his home islands, but in doing so ended up becoming the villain through the neglect that he received from the other island leaders, and the exile from his home nation by 3 Below Zero. These are only two of the many unknown reasons as to why Flux started committing crimes against his own island in the name of national security, but it would have been clear, had Seps died or not, Fluixon would have most likely won in the end, as he destroyed Island 1 with the Battle of Inverness, which brings a beautiful irony to his story. He became the main villain to unintentionally save and bring peace to both islands while trying to save his own. Thanks for watching this video. Please remember that this video is most likely not to what Fluixon envisions, so think of it as a fantastical story reading about Fluixon's character. Anything Fluixon wishes to say himself, he will probably say so in the comments section. I hope you enjoyed. Links to several videos in relation to the original Ish video will be in the description. If you enjoyed my content, then be sure to subscribe and help me reach my next milestone of 3,000 subscribers. Have a good one, and once again, thank you Ish for allowing me to use your video as background footage.